In our first keynote, we are going to hook up with the Field Chief Product Officer at Pendo, who will share what he learned building Dex, his open-source personal AI operating system that attracted attention from one of the world's leading tech companies within weeks. So, through live examples and a bit of Irish humor and a clear operating playbook, he will show us how the new advantage is the speed of which organizations can outhunt the market, bend the system of work, and prove with customers evident that what truly deserves to be built. He's got over 25 years of experience from B2C and B2B software, and he's been working with some of the world's largest digital brands and many of today's leading SaaS companies. We are so thrilled to have him here with us today. Say welcome to David Killeen. Hello, Dave. Good to see you.
Hello. Good morning, Malmo. That is the best onboarding UX I think I've ever had. It's an absolute pleasure to be here at SaaSiest. My name is Dave Killeen. I'm the Field Chief Product Officer at Pendo. Sadly, I'm old enough to have seen what I call the old money of the web. I launched the UK newspaper, the Daily Mail, or the Mail Online, as it's now known, in 2005, coming up with clickbait for my sins. I then scaled BBC iPlayer, and then moved into the high swipe velocity world of Badoo, which then became Bumble. It turns out, whether you're looking for news or a soulmate, people have a remarkably short attention span. And so I left that fickle world of B2C, and for the last 15 years, I've been leading product in SaaS. My role at Pendo is to work with our most important customers on product craft, AI fluency, and helping them measure the ROI of their R&D investment. And speaking of AI fluency, some of those eagle-eyed people in the front here might be looking at me wondering if Dave has taken too much of the AI crazy pills. I'm wearing smart glasses, and yes, my speaker notes are beaming directly into my eyeballs. Why? Because your attention and your time, and my time, is precious, more than ever before. I want to deliver the nuance while staying connected with you, not staring down at the monitor below. And this is not just a personal productivity hack. It's a tiny example of today's theme, how we get maximum leverage from the technology available to us. Well, that means changing how teams build software, or in this case, wearing AI-powered glasses to maximize the ROI of our time together. That being said, this is the first time I'm using them on stage. So if the tech fails, you'll just have me reading off this below with nothing but a ball patch in your view, and I won't have a clue of anyone being in this room. Alrighty, let's get to it. I'm going to start today by breaking a rule. I'm going to tell you the comforting lie, or I'm not going to tell you the comforting lie, that everyone seems to be reassuring themselves with right now. You've seen it on LinkedIn. You've heard it in the boardrooms. People saying, sure, AI can write the code right now, but it will never replace human taste. And there is some truth in it, right? But the way folk hold up hope to it, it's like a massive get-out-of-jail-free card. And I'm not sure that messaging is useful. And I'll be completely honest with you. I've used to peddle this message myself. I used to say that we're all Michelin-starred head chefs. AI was a sous chef. It did the chopping, the coding, the heavy lifting, but we design the menu. We have the taste. We drizzle the jus. We put that tiny bit of kale on top and the plate pops, right? I was utterly convinced that taste was our moat. I wrote articles about it, did the podcast, gave the keynotes, and then my perspective utterly shattered. Today, I want to show you what, through the lens of my own hands-on experience, what I've seen. But first, let's talk about what changed for me and what changed for many others. By December of last year, AI hit a huge turning point. Andrej Karpathy, who is known as the godfather of vibe coding, ex-Tesla, he said that AI had passed the threshold of coherence. Total geek, right? I'm not going to lie, I had to ask Perplexity just what in God's name he meant. But essentially, what he was saying was the models had become reliable enough. And I was seeing the same thing. Everything started to feel so different. If AI was finally coherent and dependable, the barrier was no longer code. It was upfront clarity. Around the same time, engineers started talking about a concept called compound engineering. And that idea was that the system can learn from previous mistakes and carry those learnings into the next chat. And the more we work with it, the more we dance with it, the better system it gets. So in January, while my husband and I were hurtling ourselves through Sri Lanka in a tuk-tuk for charity, I kept asking myself, could that compounding effect apply to my knowledge work? And because we both discovered very early on into that trip that I wasn't safe driving, I had plenty of time to relegate in the back to think about this and start vibe coding it. And I kid you not, I needed a way to manage my own world. I was drowning in my day-to-day. I was overwhelmed as well by the massive amount of market information that I just needed to keep on top of to stay relevant. So I built a system called Dex. Dex is a personal AI operating system that connects to all the tools that we love to hate. Salesforce, Gong, Slack, email, every source of news that I just never had time to consume. Every morning, AI hoovers it up, it checks it against my weekly, my quarterly goals, and it just keeps me informed and accountable. And it doesn't just summarize, it prioritizes. It even knows my colors. It tells me off when I'm avoiding detail. We know you're yellow, Dave, but my job is to make you have a blue day today. I kid you not, telling me off like my mother would. Unbelievable. And it was stunningly useful. So I just open sourced it, thinking maybe a few people might be interested. And you have to understand, I'm not technical. I have never open sourced anything. I've never built anything. At least I didn't until then. But 3 weeks later, I got this from the leadership team, a head of internal AI, at one of the world's largest tech organizations. And they reached out to me about it. Now, nothing, sadly, has yet come of this conversation, but let me tell you, having someone like this ask about your personal side project puts an absolute rocket up your arse to lean in, to give this side hustle some proper love, and to build it as fast as possible to validate wider demand. But building this system very quickly taught me a terrifying lesson. When you have AI in the kitchen, you don't just get code faster. The cost of intelligence drops to zero. You get an overwhelming explosion of utterly bonkersly brilliant ideas. And when you have hundreds of ideas hitting to you at once, your taste, it's a bottleneck. So being a head chef in this crazy kitchen behind me isn't enough anymore. We have to go outside and we have to become what I call truffle hunters. What I mean by this is our job is no longer just designing the menu. Our job is going out into the muddy forest. It's pattern matching at massive scale across the entire ecosystem. In my case, it's scouring open source software repositories, observing a buzzing community of nerds to see what they're building and talking up as the next big thing, figuring out what's commercially free for me to nick, to steal, to incorporate, and being incredibly ruthless about what of those golden nuggets, those truffles, I pull out of the dirt. But sure, who has time for all of that mad malarkey? And the answer is we don't. None of us do. Not actually if we're running businesses. So what do? We have to build a system that hunts for us. And this is not some deep tech malarkey. In my case, I just simply have a conversation with Claude in plain English. I say, hey, look, every morning, 9 o'clock, scrape these sites, have a mooch over on X, find some new open source nuggets on GitHub, and just tell me what I should know about. Thank you, Claude. Love you, Claude. I was telling people yesterday, by the way, in our AI product leadership workshop, that always say love you. And I know I'm Irish, but I'm convinced it helps you treat the AI more like a person, so you're more intent Your intent is clearer with it. Honestly, try it. And so, the only catch with this trick, though, with the LLM, is you have to leave the laptop open. And if you shut the lid, then Claude is effectively locked up in a dark cupboard. But as long as the screen is up, Claude is my personal truffle hunter. And so that's how you move from the head chef truffle to the truffle hunter at scale. You don't, or you stop digging through the mud yourself, and you start managing the system that finds the gold. One person can now have the global software ecosystem scanned, filtered, and summarized every day. And that's not a productivity hack. That is a change in the operating model. Because when intelligence becomes effectively free, everyone has access to the same information. The advantage is no longer simply who has the most data, the most engineers, or the biggest roadmap. The advantage becomes the speed of the loop. How fast can you spot the signal? How fast can you turn that signal into software? And how fast can you prove whether customers even care? And that is the wake-up call. And small teams are already making that loop frighteningly fast. They're not just reading the market. They're scanning, synthesizing it. They're finding existing building blocks. They're folding them into their products at a fraction of the cost. And this creates real pressure on all of us. Pressure on our pricing, pressure on our packaging, pressure on how we think about differentiation, and pressure on the pace at which our organizations can learn. But I'm not here to be a Debbie Downer, because once we see this shift clearly, the opportunity for all of us in this room here today is, quite frankly, staggering. This is probably, I think, the most exciting time in our careers to be building software. We just need to change how we play. And so this is the new playbook, with 3 moves. Number 1, out-hunt. 2, bend the system. 3, prove impact. That's it. Very easy. Job done. Thank you very much, Malmo, for I'm only messing. Let's dig in. We'll go through all of this in turn. Okay, first bug. All right. First out-hunt. We need to spot the signal before it becomes obvious. Without asking already busy teams to scroll more, read more newsletters, stay across every repo, every competitor launch, release note, all that shenanigans. That just does not scale. We need systems that hunt for us. Second, bend the system. Software is only the visible bit. The bigger shift is that the system of work itself becomes malleable too. The workflows, the handoffs, the roles, the review loops, and the way priorities move from idea to evidence to execution. And finally, third, prove impact. When building gets dramatically cheaper, the hard question is no longer can we build it, it's should it even exist? And the only serious answer is customer evidence. Usage, friction, retention, revenue impact, and the ground truth of what people actually do and say. And so that's the loop. We spot the signal, we bend the system, and then we prove customers care. For me, one of the most important hunting grounds is GitHub, open source. And I know for some of you, the word GitHub may immediately trigger a deep desire to check your emails, but please do not panic. I'm not going to geek you all out too much. But I want to point out something here. It's commercial, it's not technical. Because before something becomes a product category, before it appears in a competitor roadmap or turns up in an analyst report, it often starts in open source. As a scrappy repository, a developer scratching their own itch, or a weird little tool that suddenly just gets huge attraction and attention. So when I talk about truffle hunting, I don't mean read more newsletters. I mean build a system that watches places like this, your competitor help pages, and tells you what's emerging, what's useful, what could change the baseline of our market. And that's what I mean by the hunt. Let's dig a bit more into GitHub. On their site, there is a section called Trending Repositories. I'm sorry, this is technical, but it's important. It gives you a snapshot of what engineers are excited about. I used to check it every week, but that does not scale. Trending a tiny slice is only showing a tiny slice, and I want the whole universe of relevant repositories filtered for what actually matters for DEX and where I'm going with it, rather than spending my life manually searching. So now, I have an agent that runs every night. While I sleep, it scours GitHub, it looks at new projects from a first principles point of view, sees if any of it's free that I can steal, takes inspiration, writes me a brief, and get this, it even creates ideas. It marks it out of a level of enthusiasm out of 10 and puts it into a shared backlog. It knows I'm not technical and explains it to me in simple terms. And when it's all going into a shared backlog, it's quite frankly bonkers. What you end up having, the second bug, is the AI competing for who has the best ideas. And that is, quite frankly, scary. I've never been much of an anxious individual. But when AI starts competing with you on ideas, it does something to your head. Historically, 80% of our roadmap is not great, right? But when the backlog becomes 200 great ideas, then that's not a roadmap, that's a coordination problem. So I'm going to show you how I manage that when we get to the second pillar, bending the system. But let's do one little bit more look into GitHub's shenanigans. When you build a system to scour the web now, you don't just find snippets of code. You find things like this, a fully functioning, beautiful open source CRM called 20. It's a modern Salesforce-style product that one person in your company can clone, tweak with a chat, and ship. Or, on the right-hand side, an open source version of Claude Design, just weeks after it launched, where you can bring your own model. Your design team can make it fit their own way of working. It's bonkers, right? The starting line has moved. Features that used to feel expensive and defensible are becoming free building blocks for us to steal. If we do not have systems watching that shift, we'll be surprised by people who do. And you might be thinking, all of this token-tastic malarkey will cripple us financially. Not really. The cost curve is collapsing too. Look at the frontier pricing today. DeepSeek V4 release just 12 hours after OpenAI 4.5. That's not a coincidence from China. And 1/10 of the cost. And the point is not that the cheapest model is suddenly the best model in the world. It's not. It's that the quality of that model, by the way, we were delighted by that quality 6 months ago with frontier pricing. And now it's priced like a rounding error. And by the way, a useful way of looking at pricing, 1 million tokens is 9 average-sized novels. Cheaper than a cup of joe. And that Salesforce SaaS CRM that I showed you probably cost about $10,000 in tokens to build. But now, the cost of those ideas, building prototypes and generating alternatives is falling through the floor. So cost is no longer the excuse for them or for us. And now let me show you what I'm most excited about, offline AI. Look at this screen behind me. What's happening now in a second, if the play is good, is that this is from Google, called Edge Gallery. You can all download it and play with it on device. And if you look, I'm now in airplane mode with this, and I'm asking it what the meaning of life is. And it's all coming through at quite a clip, which is fantastic. I'll show you something else now. We're going to go in here, take a photo. Cool. And look at this. Comes back and it says, I'm middle-aged. Haha, not a hallucination. Thank you, AI. Love you, AI. I'm not sure how you're all feeling lately, but this all feels absolutely fly by the seat of our knickers right now. I monitor far too many AI sources every day, and the pace has noticeably accelerated since that threshold of coherence moment. And the gap isn't closing because AI, or the gap is closing because AI is now helping build AI. A Google research paper came out recently about TurboQuant, a way to compress models so powerfully that AI can run on a MacBook Air. And just the release of the paper, not the tech, sent memory chip stocks dropping. Google did not release any software, just a research paper. And so some clever nerd handed the math paper to their agent and said, reverse engineer this, please. Thank you. Love you. And it did it. Folks, this is utter bonkers territory that we're in right now. You can download the repos from this and play with it on GitHub. So if AI can reverse engineer something complex like this, what happens when a competitor points an agent at your UI to infer your product? It's happening today. Heck, like the Anthropic co-founder Jack Clark last night sent X into a frenzy, saying AI systems, like Claude, can now rebuild themselves as of 2028. And he put out a really good essay on it last night. He goes on to say that he finds it both mind-boggling and troubling that he's now coming to that revelation. Bonkers, bonkers, bonkers. So pillar one, that's done, very depressing, out hunt. There's a lot happening out there, right? A hell of a lot. So we now need systems to notice it before we do via our competitors. Systems that give us time back to appreciate and focus on where the puck is going. And if the cost to build is falling so fast, what becomes the bottleneck? It's not productivity, it's coordination, which takes us to step two, bend the system. There's a book called Reshuffle. It is bloody brilliant. Author Sanjit Chowdhury argues that we are all misunderstanding AI as a productivity tool, as a faster horse. He compares it to the shipping container and what happened in the 60s when they invented them in Singapore. Containers did not just make shipping cheaper, they reconfigured the global business. Second-order effects at significant scale. And AI has that same kind of potential. It's not just a faster tool. It changes how work gets coordinated. It's a complete and utter reconfiguration of how to be true today when it comes to competing and winning. Most organizations buy licenses and hope people figure it out. This is my husband. He does AI Tuesdays at work. And he sat at home in front of Claude Cowork looking absolutely terrified, like it was an alien life form from outer space. What do I do? Watch some videos, guy, I said. No, Dave, what do I do? And we're handing people Ferraris, but we're not telling them how to take the handbrake off. If we want to bend the software and to have intentionality and helpfully fix the environment, that's what we need to do. We need to do that and fix it around the work. Look at Ramp. They built an org-wide operating system on top of AI called Glass. Every employee gets an AI coworker, pre-configured with the right tools and the right team context. It comes with Dojo, a skill marketplace. And then every time a rep builds a battle card workflow, packages it up as a skill, and then every other rep instantly has it. That's a coordination mechanism. They use AI to knock down silos and to level up together. And so this is where Malleable software became very real for me. I needed to build out decks fast, but my truffle hunting dogs were bringing far too many ideas every night. It was exciting, but it was also completely terrifying. I tried Jira, Linear, Symphony. They all perfectly good tools, but they were built for human teams moving at human speed. I needed something that worked with me and my AI. The system did not exist, so I built it. And the point of Malleable software, when the tools don't fit the way you need to work, you stop waiting for someone else's roadmap. You bend the system and build your own factory. And this is my factory. What you're looking at here is not just a Kanban board, it's a workflow where moving an idea from one column to the next invokes a different AI skill, a different Claude skill. An idea starts in raw ideas column, and then it might come into, from me, from GitHub, or from a competitor, from one of our agents. And when I or one of my agents moves it into the 10x column, basically Claude says, hey, invokes a skill, which is, you are Steve Jobs, everyone's idea is shit, make this brilliant. And then, I kid you not, and then, when it moves to agent-ready PRD column, another skill turns it into a detailed PRD that agents can actually work with reliably. And from there, I pass it into a cloud of 20 Claude Code instances that are up on a VPS that build against those PRDs. This is a very different way of working. It will not be to everyone's taste, but this is how many people are already starting to work. And I think it's how more and more software will get built. And these are the rules of my factory. I call them my truths, beliefs about where I believe the world is going over the next 12 months. The cost of intelligence is going to zero. Brilliantly innovative yet token expensive ideas today that would hammer the PLL on cost will not be expensive in 6 months' time. The point is that the system is not just planning for today's market, it's planning for the market that I believe is coming. And these agents have roles. There's a VP of product in here, back there. Truths sitting behind them, shaping how these ideas get judged. And so the system does not just ask, can we build this? It asks, does this fit into the world that we think is coming? Is it ready for agents to execute? So I'm not just collecting ideas, I'm running a product system that compounds. And this is what makes this possible. That's what comes from it. The system wrote 17,500 lines of code. In old money, that is roughly 5 engineers working for 5 weeks, around 240 person hours, and this was compressed into 2.5 hours. Honest to God, 100x multiplier. And people go, oh, and they have on LinkedIn, like, the code shit. It's not. Because by the time the agents start building, the work has already been sharpened. The idea has been challenged, the constraints are clear, the PRDs are detailed enough for the agents to execute reliably. And this is what I mean, by the way, earlier on, upfront clarity. Is it perfect? No, but neither are we. And it is improving at a rate of knots and more than we seem to be. And so I fully open source Dex. Your personal chief of staff, play with it, have a faff with it, clone it, install it. Tell it what you want. You want YouTube transcript summaries? It'll do it for you, right? Just talk to it like a human, and Dex becomes then your malleable friend. Make it your own, and you can then play with that. Connect it to all your tools, and that will bring all that data onto your laptop and have the AI and you work with each other on it. You're probably thinking, Dave, honestly, really? My org is nowhere near this. You're an absolute hardcore nerd nutter. And you're not far wrong, but this is the type of operating model that we will increasingly compete with. So how do we get operations moving? I think our practical answer is AI fluency ladder mapped to a career ladder. And just like Oprah Winfrey, there's one for everyone in the audience. I've vibe coded another app, which is here. No? Oh, dear Lord. This one. Okay. And it won't be perfect, but the idea is you go in, any role in your company, any level in your organization, and it will give you your career ladder, and it'll tell you how to get things done from an AI point of view based on the AI stack you have in your org. It will not be perfect, but the source code is there for you to take and make your own. And now for the final step. Step 1, out-humped. Step 2, bend the system. But what happens when everyone builds effortlessly? Building is no longer the hard part. Knowing what to build and what the impact of that build is what truly matters. And there's 2 parts to this coin, and the final pillar, which is proving impact. I'm running out of time, so I'll be very, very quick. First up, you need to build it well. And that means getting the genius out of your head into a way that the AI can actually use. People often say to me, hey, Dave, I've got an idea for an app, but I haven't got a foggy on where to start. My advice is don't treat the AI like an intern. Have it coach you. I call it flipping the script. Instead of guessing what context the AI needs, ask it to pull the context out of you. So scan this, and you get a virtual PM that will grill you. The PM asks clarifying questions, you answer a mobile using voice. A designer comes in, looks at the chat above, he or she has questions, and then you get a properly fleshed out idea and a PRD that you can hand to the AI to build. Honestly, give it a go and build your malleable moment. And then this is where Pendo comes in. If malleable software gives us the ability to build faster, Pendo gives us the evidence to build the right things. And then we help teams gather the ground truth from their product and the customers and the go-to-market systems. We help them learn what's driving friction, adoption, retention, and growth. And then we help them act directly in the product through guides, experiments, orchestration, and measurement. And so the loop is simple. You gather the evidence, you learn what matters, and you act with confidence, and then you keep improving. And this operates at serious scale. Pendo supports about 1 billion end users across 163 countries with more than 14,000 customers globally. So when we talk about product evidence, it's not theoretical, it's grounded in real behavior across real products at global scale. And then those customers span every major vertical that you see here. The common thread is simple. These are software-led organizations that need to understand what users are doing and where value is being created and where experience is being broken down. And given I'm an AI nerd, this is the bit I'm most excited about because Pendo, alongside Google and other folk behind me, we're now working together to help shape how agents talk to and work with other agents. And that matters because in the next wave, it's not just humans using software. It's humans and agents working through software together. Our job becomes to make sure that work is still grounded in evidence, outcomes, and better customer experiences. And so that is it from me. We're already living in a world of malleable software. The playbook is simple: out-hunt the market, bend the system, and prove impact with growth. Because when everyone can build faster, the winners will be the teams that know what to build, why it matters, and whether it actually works for customers. The tools are here, the cost is plummeting, the opportunity is off the charts crazy nuts, so go build your malleable software, go be the truffle hunters. Thank you ever so much, Malmo. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very, very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Dave.